Well, hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so happy you're here. I am Jan Jeremias, one of your hosts today. Um, and just a little bit about me before we move into our conversation today. I'm an integrative health and wellness coach and author who works with people and pets. And I always emphasize pets because, they're special, as we know, to help them overcome health challenges and live healthier lives. And I'm really excited to be joined on stage once again with my beautiful co-host, collaborator, and friend. Um, I want to call her my twin almost in the way we tend to go through things that are very similar at the same time. And very kind, Mary Jane McQueen. So if you could please tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. And so I'm Mary Jane, of course, as you know, but I have my own creative studio. And while I have many umbrella things under my umbrella that I do, I really enjoy helping entrepreneurs to step into their light and share their gifts authentically. And so I help guide them through overcoming self-doubt or finding their voice and creating visuals that really help them to align with their mission. So, and as always, I'm always blessed to be here with Jan. And even if, no matter the circumstance, my almost twin, we just, I just love being here and I love being in the presence of the beautiful souls that are here today. So thank you.
Absolutely. So, welcome everyone. And before we begin, we have to give a little shout out to Darlene, who actually gave us this little kind of title or idea last week in our conversation. And Mary Jane and I both loved it. And so we decided to let that conversation today kind of be around that. And that was this idea of moving chore to choice, um, from from having to do something, so from have to get to blessed to. Before we begin, I just want to say if blessed doesn't really resonate with you, you could always slot in a different word. Blessed has some interesting connotations out there, but this idea of moving from have to get to blessed to. And so we are very grateful you're here with us today. We're actually blessed to have you here with us today. And as we come together in this space, we invite you to take a deep breath in, settle in, and open your heart to a shift, possibly in your perspective. How often do we catch ourselves saying, I have to, as if life is filled with endless obligations pulling us in different directions? I have to go to work, I have to exercise, I have to cook dinner, I have to take care of my family, my home, my responsibilities. And these words can feel heavy, as if we were merely getting through the motions of our days. So today we want to explore the power of reframing that phrase. What happens when we shift from I have to I get to? And even further, when we recognize that we are blessed to do the very things that once felt like burdens, tasks, or even inconveniences. Now, I'm a practical realist, so this isn't about trying to make things all sunshine and roses. This is about a slight wording change that leads to a big perspective change. This simple yet profound shift in language can transform the way we experience life. It turns routine tasks into moments of gratitude, challenges into opportunities, and responsibilities into privileges. It allows us to see the beauty in the ordinary, the lessons in the struggles, and the blessings in our everyday experiences. So together we'll reflect, share, and practice this shift, not just as an intellectual exercise, but as a tangible way to cultivate more joy, presence, and appreciation in our daily lives. So we invite you to approach today's conversation with curiosity and openness. Notice where the words I have to show up in your life and consider how you might begin to reframe it. How might this small shift create more lightness, gratitude, and even a sense of peace? We're honored to have you here, and we look forward to this conversation. So, Mary Jane?
Yes, thank you, Jan, for the beautiful insights. It's It's true. We are blessed to be here, no matter the circumstance. Um, it is a blessing to be here. And in that sense of blessing, or whatever word you choose to use instead of that, we found a lovely poem. It's called Blessing for Sound, and it's from The Bell and the Blackbird by David White. And so I'll just share that with you now. It says, I thank you for the smallest sound, for the way my ears open even before my eyes, as if to remember the way everything began with an original, vibrant note. And I thank you for this everyday original music, always being rehearsed, always being played, always being remembered as something new and arriving. A tram line below in the city street, gull cries or ship's horn, in the distant harbor, so that in waking I hear voices, even where there is no voice, and invitations where there is no invitation, so that I can wake with you by the ocean in summer or in the deepest, seemingly quietest winter, and be with you so that I can hear you, even with my eyes closed, even with my heart closed, even before I fully wake.
Thank you so much, Mary Jane, for sharing that. I am a huge David White fanatic, so um, so I have many books by him and have heard him speak a number of times and done workshops with him. So I love his poetry, and I think it speaks so much to sometimes the things that we tend to not pay attention to. And as I read those words of like blessed to like, the sounds we hear before our eyes even open. And I don't know that it ever really like it was just the when I read it yesterday, I was like, wow, like sometimes you know things, but you don't really like pay attention or you don't really know them. And then I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, how true is that? The sounds that we hear, um, before we even our eyes even open in the morning. And so I just loved that. But yeah, Mary Jane, why don't we start the conversation and talk a little bit about this idea of have to versus get to versus blessed to.
Yeah, it is such a thing. I mean, just taking in, I love that poem as well. Just the whole feeling of it, of just I guess it's all about the mindset and getting past the have to and the get to, or the blessed to. It's just taking in those simple moments that can really be a powerful change in perspective, right? If in our daily lives, it's just really it's just a really important thing to think about. And I know Jan and you and I were going back and forth with talking about the different things and what the power of words are, how it shapes our perspective. Really just when we use the phrase "I have to," it sounds like burdens and those daily responsibilities. And of course, those things are necessary, but it's just by saying replacing that and saying have to or get to or blessed to, it's sort of it urges us to look at something and recognizing it as an opportunity. And if it really just fosters a more positive and increases maybe some motivation and creativity and tempers it with gratitude as well. So I love this thing. And thank you, Darlene, for speaking to this last week, because it really resonated with Jan and I. Were like, okay, this is something we need to dig in a little deeper.
Absolutely, because I thought it in regard to, the first example I came to yesterday as I was thinking about our conversation today was when I was caring for my dad. Uh, and it was so challenging. And I was sleeping in rehab or sleeping at the hospital, and watching him was really painful. And I remember getting on the phone with a dear friend one day, and I don't know if I used the words I have to, But then she turned around in the conversation and she said, um, like, how blessed are you that you get to do it? And I remember like it was almost like my breath caught. I was like, oh, like, and I realized, and it was just her saying those words, not in a harsh way, but just that shift from me. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I am. Like it was just like the light bulb went off. It was like the light turned on and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so lucky and so blessed to be able to do this, as challenging as it is. And so I think that that was a really, like in a way, everyday example for me. But then, as I was sitting with this topic all week, I thought about how many times I use the phrase I have to, and how all of a sudden things that might have been, you know, like a gift or where I was really excited about, all of a sudden the tone of them changes. Like I have to get up and, do this for my business. Well, I'm actually really blessed to be able to do this because one is I chose to do it. Two is I decided to become an entrepreneur. So I, could leave that more corporate or more traditional work setting. And so I'm really blessed to be able to make my own hours and to, um, things like, if I want to do laundry in the middle of the day, like no one is sitting there telling me not to. And so it's a real gift. And how often do I use those words of I have to? So it was just a reminder to me to sort of start to look at those phrases for myself and to shift that from being like tasks or burdens into just a more positive way of like talking about it for myself.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it, too? It's just the way that shifting that perspective. It's like how it's the same as we were have been speaking to in other audios the past few weeks. It's like the words that we tell ourselves, even if it's not out loud, just in our heads, the things that we tell ourselves or focus on, those seem to be the things that draw in the things maybe perhaps that we don't want. and and it's sometimes it's just that. But I love, Jen, how you shared about caring for your dad. Yeah, I mean, I know I've shared, probably a few of you have heard this as well too. I mean, for the last number of years of my mom's life, um, we were blessed to have her living with us. And, I know when she first came, she often felt like she was like a burden. Those were her words, not mine. And, I just said to her, I don't consider it a burden. I feel like it's a blessing to have this opportunity to spend more time with somebody that I love, and just to I celebrate the small and big wins of the situation. So yeah, it's just lovely that Jana, thank you for sharing that about your dad, because it was, I mean, it took a while to get there, but it was one of those things that it's like, oh no, this is a blessing. It's not I have to, it's because I choose to, right? That's really what it was. It's like from chore to choice, right? That was that was our theme for today. So it was never a chore for me, but I love that, Jan. So thank you for sharing that and
Oh,
bringing that memory back to me.
oh, you're welcome, Mary Jane. And, and I feel that way every time I see my mom, because I don't think she stops thanking me. It's kind of
Mhm.
like, thank you so much for that. And I feel so lucky, so blessed to be able to help her. And so it never really feels like that burden. It's something I feel really blessed to be able to do. So I know that Taryn raised her hand, and then Matthew, I think, wants to share. So Taryn, feel free to unmute.
Ladies, thank you for this beautiful conversation. It is really, Darlene. Thank you for letting that pin drop for this conversation today. It's beautiful. And I just want to go on with what Mary Jane said, was where energy goes, where your attention and focus is. And that's so true, because it just my mom's brother is not well. His wife is his full-time caregiver right now and taking care of him. And that reminder, it broke my heart, but it made me realize how blessed I am to have a mom who is beautiful. She is in good health. She is, and she's here within my care. And I'm blessed to be able to take care of this woman who brought me into this world. I can go to productions with her. I can say, Mom, let's go have a cup of coffee. I can treat her. I can buy her coffee, buy her anything that she wants if I can. I will never be able to do that for my father. I will never be able to call him. I'll never be able to give him a hug. And with my mother, and this is actually, I love this topic because this is how my mindset has been changing for this year. It's to be more in gratitude. I will never hug him again. I get so frustrated when I have to use the same photos over and over and over because I'll never be able to take photos with him anymore. But I'm blessed to take photos with my mom. I'm blessed to have conversations with her. Jan, what you said about being an entrepreneur, um, sometimes the entrepreneurial spiral roller coaster, we know the ups and downs, and you're like, you're like, whew, sometimes it's like overwhelming. But I'm blessed to be an entrepreneur because I get to work with clients. I get to be here because it's my time. We all are here because it's our time and we will choose to be here. I'm blessed to be able to have a conversation with you ladies all over the world. And I've been waking up earlier to watch the sunrise with a cup of green tea in hand and watching the sunrise while before autumn or fall comes. And it changes your energy within your body. It's very easy for me to get negative and, oh, this is not working out, that's not working out. All right, if that's not working out, that means take a step back and focus on something else. It's going to work out. Like just I believe, just as Mary Jane put out, that when you focus on negativity, you're going to attract more negativity because your words, I believe in speaking power over your life. That when you speak negativity over your life, you're going to attract that. But if you do gratitude and be like, okay, well, it's raining, my washing is not going to get dry. That's okay. The sun is shining tomorrow. I'm going to do the washing tomorrow. What else can I do in place of what I was going to do the washing? And so that's the attitude that I'm trying to do. And it's such a beautiful mental and emotional shift in your body where you're not carrying that heaviness. And even all the way down to my to-do list. So I have a notepad next to me. And instead of calling it a to-do list, I started implementing this from last year. I call it a bucket list. So I say bucket list for the week or bucket list for February. And then I tick that off as if it was a travel bucket list. It just changed that something about to do makes it feel so tedious. So I don't want to do it. But when you say bucket list, it just changes the energy to say, yep, thank you, that's done, next. So that's just some things that I wanted to share. And I fully agree that we are blessed. We get to do things, and it is an absolute blessing, and it's a blessing to be here. And I'm so grateful that this conversation is just encouraging that even more and just helping my mindset so much more. Thank you, ladies.
Oh, thank you so much, Taryn. So first of all, before was that Leo we heard in the background?
That's actually one of our birds called hardy daws. So that was a hardy daw that you heard in the background.
Oh, okay. And I was thinking we were blessed to hear it. And so
No,
I,
he unfortunately, I would love for him to be here, but the minute I go on a Zoom call or telephone call, he's like, no, this is too noisy. I will leave you ladies be, and he exits the room.
okay, just was curious because I heard something in the background there, and besides barking, which I usually hear, but so. But I love that idea of a bucket list. And as you said that, I haven't really been naming my lists but in my mind, they're to-do lists, kind of thing. And I usually do it by day. So I'll put you know, today Friday, and I'll write down a list underneath. And I'm thinking to myself, I think I'm going to change it to whatever, rephrase that. So it's even in each day I write down, Friday and then something else. Like I'm not gonna I'll find a word that resonates with me, but I think you gave me a little suggestion that I absolutely love. Mary Jane?
Yes, and I just wanted to I wanted to welcome Matthew just because I'm sure he will take the term ladies in kind. So
Right, 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 right.
Welcome, Matthew, for bringing your masculine energy here.
Hi,
You you you
Matthew.
you stole my line. I was going to
I'm
correct.
sorry.
I haven't had a major operation since my picture was taken, so I
Well,
think the one
you're
thing
definitely welcome.
Yes, absolutely.
the one thing that comes to mind for me, I post sometimes about kind of burnout and not losing your direction and matching your business with your values. And when you say have to, you hear so many people in business saying, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do the other thing. But if you prioritize your have to and then say, okay, I have to pick up the kids, I have to get home for dinner, I have to be ready for my practice session with my son on Sunday, then you start to use the word have to in the right context. And you see that quite a lot in work. There's a friend of mine, and he tells himself he has to work all the time, but he doesn't. Excuse the wind, it just picked up there. And I met him a few months ago, and he wanted to go somewhere with his daughter, but he said he had to work. I said you didn't have to work. You just could have went. And as so many people fall into that, I have to work trap. That's what resonates with me.
No, I agree with you, Matthew, in that way. I think that we do, I think that it's almost like, for me, I use have to as like this kind of dump of all the tasks that I have to do, so, and that's probably because I'm addicted to a to-do list. So, and I love being able to cross things off. So, so if I think of like the have tos, I'm like, oh, okay, it's very satisfying for me to like put a line through something. But if I could reframe that as a priority list and even, differentiate like you're talking about, like, so maybe differentiate the have tos to, I get to, I'm blessed to. And there is a connotation of all of those in everything, right? And it's really just what works for you and how reframing it can maybe help maybe some of the things which you look at or become burdens that really shouldn't be a burden. Yesterday I shared with Mary Jane, and we're happy to pop some of these articles in the comments section. There was one which talked about this woman who had become like decided she was going to stay home with her infant daughter, and how in the beginning she said it was like she was so excited because she got to make her daughter, like she got to eat with her daughter breakfast and lunch, and it was such treasured time. And then a year went by, and all of a sudden she noticed herself saying, oh, I have to make breakfast and I have to make lunch. And she said all of a sudden it was like this change for her where she realized like all of a sudden it was like one of those things that she had to cross off a list. And really, like it was just like a little moment where she said to herself, like, oh my gosh, like I'm so blessed to be able to do that. And it was that change for her, which I thought like when I read it, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Because I think that that's what happens. All of a sudden, things that we really want to do, they become mundane. We write them on a list, like we lump them together with 1,000 other things we have to do in a given day. And then all of a sudden they become tasks versus gifts or versus blessings. And so maybe you don't like the word blessing and you could say, I'm gifted to be able to do this, or, something like that. But you find a word, everybody that finds a word that works for them. Divine.
I just sat down. I must have known you was gonna call on me, Jan. Hello,
Hey,
everybody.
we always say we're connected. So we are.
Yes, we are. You know what? This conversation is great. When I seen the title, I was like, come on. Yes, let's do this. So thank you so much, Darlene, for sparking that awareness in all of us. I think it was last week. Yeah, and I've heard that saying before. This is another thing about words and where they're coming from, and are you ready to do it? Because I've heard that saying before, like, I get to do this. I can do this. I tell my children all the time, I can do this, right? To get them to change their attitude, because words have a very strong, profound way of changing our perspective, as Jan said, as well as our attitude. And when you said that, I was like, you know what? Let me start using this because I've heard this and I need to start applying it now. And so I started applying it in my house, and I was talking to my daughter because she helps me with the dishes, and she is 10 years old. And I say, girl, you get to help do the dishes. How fun is that? Right? I said, we can do it together, and you also get to do it as well. So it really shifted her attitude and kind of like putting more of a pleasurable moment, because my thing is all about having more pleasurable moments in my life. Even going through the different health challenges that I'm experiencing right now. When I was walking yesterday, I felt able enough to walk. And I was like, okay, I get to walk today. I can walk today. It feels good to walk. I am grateful that my legs are moving and walking today. And I think it's so important to be in the present moment and to have that shift in attitude and perspective. I like to call it our little magic that we get to put on things, because I'm a little woo woo magical sister. I'm the friend that's woo woo and magical, right? So I say, yeah, we're casting spells every day, guys. This is why they call it spelling. So what are you doing, right? What is your abracadabra or your sprinkle, sprinkle? What are you doing with your words? And your attitude can shift your perspective and your mood as well instantly, right? We have the awareness and the power to do that. And the last thing I wanted to share too was when you guys were talking about your parents, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, um, my father. Now this is a little bit of a different experience. I won't be long, but my father had stayed with me before, and I took care of him. And I wish, let me say, I wish. Okay, I'm gonna say I wish, but guess what? The wish is now present, because now I have this attitude, and it's never too late to have the attitude, because attitude is also frequency. It's energy, it's love. And I know that my father's energy, his spirit is still with me. And when he was staying with me before, I had to put him into a nursing home. And then shortly after I put him into a nursing home, he had transitioned, he had passed away. But when he was staying with me, I was going through a lot myself. And I didn't see it in that point of view of, oh, I get to take care of my father. What a blessing, what a treasure, what a gift it was to take care of him. Now, in the moments where I was able to take care of him, I had to give him a shower. I had to see him naked. I'm being very transparent, and y'all know I am, okay? I had to give my daddy a shower and see him naked, So we had some transparent moments, and it was just like, wow. And it was challenging because he was very stubborn. He was very independent as a man. But in those loving moments, there also were challenging moments to where it triggered me. It triggered me into healing. It triggered me into my own parenting. And I was able to see some of the control and the stubborn that was in me that my father showed me. So it also triggered me to heal that. And he would say things to my children, it's too noisy, y'all too loud. I'm like, Dad, they're just playing. But to him, it was noise. It wasn't play, So he taught me a lot of things and how to respect, where people are, and also what I needed to heal through within myself, because I found that I was doing some of the same things. Now, for those of you that don't know, my father is the one that primary raised me. My mother was in and out of my life, and I still have a relationship with my mother to this day. She's still alive. But what I'm saying is that the challenges also were the triggers in order for me to heal. And I was going through a lot of things myself. And when I had to put my father into that nursing home, it literally broke my heart But also, I felt a little bit of obligation, like he took care of me. If it wasn't for my dad, then I probably would have been in that foster home, because my mom wasn't there. And, so there was a lot of those lingering thought forms that had came up. But at the end of the day, I said, you know what? You love your dad. You are grateful for what he had done for you. You are grateful that he raised you. And I love him dearly. So I had to look at that from that perspective and start to understand that everything that happened in my life and the experience that I shared with my father was also for my healing and evolution, right? And I had to do that with my family as well. So everything happens for a purpose. And I just want to say that, I'm grateful that I got to take care of my father. And also, when he passed away, I was like, damn, I really abandoned him. Right. And so I also had to look at that word, abandon. I did not forget him. I had to put him in the nursing home because I needed more help. I needed more support. There was no family. Nobody wanted to come here and come to Texas and help me take care of my father. It was just me. Everything was always the responsibility on me. So I put him in that nursing home that was literally 10 minutes away so I can get more help to take care of him, which we visited him every single week, right? So I had to look at these things from a higher perspective and say, wait, stop traumatizing your own self. That's not why you did that, Divine. So I went through a lot of healing, and my father showed me a lot of things that I needed to heal within myself, that he was also, cycling over through the family line. So I'm just grateful that I got a chance to take care of my dad. And thank you for allowing me to share in this experience today, my loves. I'll yield it there.
Thank you so much, Divine, for sharing that. And as you were speaking, it reminded me of so many things about caring for my dad. And even though, like I said, I looked at it as a blessing, but all the things I learned and all the things I took away, over the last, I don't know how many weeks, my father was eventually diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, which has Parkinson's like physical symptoms, but also a lot of the symptoms of Alzheimer's. And it was so interesting as I'd sit there and watch him do certain things. And, my father was very meticulous. He was an aerospace engineer. And you would watch him like finish eating and fold his napkin like precisely and put it on the side. At one point, my mother and I looked, and it was something so little, but my mother looked at me and we both looked at each other, and she said, we were both like, oh my gosh, he's still the same. Deep down underneath it all, he was still the same person. And so it was just those little reminders of like, amongst all the things that he couldn't remember and the hallucinations and all that other stuff, like there was still that person there. And so that was such a gift. And I think it just reminded me of the gift that people are, and the fact that that kind of innate person that you are never changes. Like that's always there. And maybe you can go back to that, whether, we spoke a few weeks ago about inner child. So maybe it's the inner child, but however you label it or call it, that who he was still there. And so, and you would see it in different ways. And what a gift that was for me. And I think that's the one thing about being around someone that you care for, that you love as they age, is that you learn a lot. Like they tell you a lot about themselves, and you realize what's like important in a person, beyond the surface things of what is happening, which I think is it's a real blessing if we talk about the word blessed.
Dan, real quick, I just wanted to say that my father did the same thing with his napkin. I'm done with you, I swear. And you know what else he would used to do it with? His handkerchief. He
Yeah,
would always,
exactly. Yes.
yeah, he would always keep a handkerchief in the napkin. And I remember one time, I'll be real quick. I remember one time when we were at the dinner table and I was in the kitchen doing the dishes, and he was at the dinner table and the kids were all eating. And I had a vision. Okay, for those of you that don't know, I have visions sometimes that pop up in my mind's eye. And I had a vision of him when he was a child. So his child was coming to me to show me to have more grace and love for him at that moment. And I had a vision of him being abused at the dinner table, Like you better eat all your food. If you don't eat all your food, you're not, you can't have a snack or you're going to bed hungry, all of these things. And I started to see where the program came from. And it gave me more love and grace in my heart for my father and accepting the way he was how he was. So thank you so much for sharing that as well, love. That was so similar to my dad as well.
Thank you. Darlene?
Divine, I have to say, about a minute before you said the word grace, I wrote down grace and self-compassion on my sticky note. Um, because one of the things that this I get to, I'm blessed to, came to me a number of years ago, and I realized that how much of an impact. I think when I spoke about it last week, I realized how much of an impact it's had over me over the years since it's come into. I knew about it before, but it's just the way it was phrased, and it came into my world, and I adopted it and welcomed it in. And I do this, every now and again, with my coaching clients where, I get them to sit there and say, okay, what do you have to do? And the visceral shift in your body when you when you say that language of, I have to, it's a task, it's something, if you actually look up in the dictionary about what it means when you say you have to, it means to be forced to, you must, right? So it feels almost like it's out of our control. When you say get to, you're getting closer to that. Okay, well, it's something that's come into my world and I have a bit of a choice there. And then when you shift it even further to I'm blessed to, or I am so happy to have this, whatever this is in my world, or to be able to do this. Oh my goodness, like the euphoria really that you feel and the gratitude that goes with it. And then that got me thinking as you were speaking, Divine, and from all the other wonderful conversation we've had, is how much grace and self-compassion does that bring into our bodies? And especially the self-compassion piece, right? Because there's so many things in this world that you have to do. There's tasks, there's chores, you're being pulled in so many ways. But when you say I'm blessed to, there's just this feeling for me anyway. I don't know if anybody else feels it, but that feeling of self-compassion that this is something that I am so graced to have in my life. And I have an opportunity to discover it, to explore it, to work on it, to love it, to feel it, to be in it. And it brings my power back. And I think that's just such a wonderful gift. And I'm so happy that it sparked such conversation and just it resonated so much with everybody because it really is about that, Velcro Teflon brain, right? It's those things those positive things that we need to remember, not that we need to remember, that we get to remember and are blessed to remember, to be able to really feel it and embody it and bring it home in a different way than when we just have to check mark it off, right, on a list. And I love, Taryn, that bucket list. Oh my gosh, I love that idea. I actually have shifted mine over the years to, instead of a to-do list, to a ta-da list. So when I'm finished a task, it becomes a ta-da, and there's a little bit of celebration.
Okay, thank you for that, Darlene. I just had to interrupt because I love that.
Yeah, it just adds something, a different flavor, right? It's instead of to okay, I got to do this, whatever, but it's a ta-da, I did this, right?
I absolutely love that. And I think I love this idea of self-compassion because when you were speaking, Divine, one of the things that came to my mind, having, first of all, so I have two things I want to share, and then I want to hear Mary Jane. So one was for Divine, you know, a lot of my time for the last 10 years has been spent in rehabilitation centers, not because my dad, because it's a part of my work. And I go in and I teach movement classes and facilities. So is assisted living facilities or whatever. And I used to be very critical of like the idea of families that would put family members in a facility. And then, when my dad got sick, and especially in the end, and had he we ended up bringing him home on hospice, but had he had to go someplace, that couldn't have, I mean, and it was a blessing that he didn't last long at home, because I don't know what we would have done otherwise, because it was too much for us to do at home. And then all of a sudden you realize that, it's a lot. My mother's close to 90 and couldn't have taken care of my father. My father was 6'1" or 6'2", and I'm 5'2". I wasn't taking care of him either. And so we would have either had to have full-time care or 24 hours, so probably two people, which we did have for like a few months, or we would have had to put him someplace, even close by. But to like take away that judgment and that sort of critical mind of other people, and all the, and show some compassion for people, because I think for a lot of people, they have no choice, either because financially they can't do it, or they work, whatever. So I, love that reminder that you said and you learned, and I'm so happy you learned it. Um, and you came to that place on your own, because that's what, it taught me when I was, in the last few months of my father's life, is that choice. And what would we do if we had to, put him in a facility because, my mother could no longer afford to have someone come into the house. So thank you, because I totally agree. I think we're so quick to judge, and it just reminds us not to be judgmental. And Darlene, I just want to share. So you use the word grace. Um, the style of yoga I practice, Anusara, which means to go with the flow. There are a series of principles of sort of guides that you begin each practice, or that are kind of govern the whole entire practice of time your movement. And our first principle is open to grace. And as you said it, I thought to myself, that's what grace is. It's the fact that you sit there, for me, on a mat, and you not get to practice, but you're blessed to be able to practice and to breathe and to move. And you open up to that blessing. You open up to this idea that this is a gift, that it's a gift versus like exercise or a chore that I have to get through. Like I have to do my morning practice. Sounds very different than I'm blessed to do my morning practice. So thank you for sharing that word, grace.
You are so welcome. And it just, yeah, that's grace is just such a, there's so much calm and so much enlightenment as well too in that grace, and that brings about, I think, a good point that you just made me think about, that pause, right? I have to is very quick, it's very rapid. I am blessed to is very, yeah, we have that moment of mindful pause. And I think that's something that I think everybody could use a little bit more often, and an opportunity to be in that moment and to experience it without just running through it like a movie projector where it's going so quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing that word in me kind of provokes is this idea, because I do look at my yoga practice as a very sacred practice. And it brings an element of sacredness, of sort of reverence into the whole idea of what you do. Like it, I don't like to word, but there is this idea of it being, or this feeling for me, not an idea, it's both, of being like this very, very treasured time for me. Um, some might even call it like, people might use the word spiritual, but, holiness to it, an idea of reverence. Like, it's like, oh, and who are you honoring or revering? You're revering yourself. I mean, that's really what it's about. So this idea of open to grace, it's like open to the space, however you want to label it. Mary Jane?
Yeah, you guys are bringing up so many things. Like I can't keep track of all the things that like are popping into my mind. I did want to mention, I really, Darlene, thank you for talking about compassion as well, because that's the purpose behind what I do for my mission and vision is compassion and empathy and kindness, and it's to self first and then radiating that out into the world. That's the blessing to remember, the gift to remember there. So thank you for speaking to that. And I also love the word use of the word grace. Not surprisingly, Jan and I both noted that down. Um, and it's interesting because it doesn't matter what your belief system is. There's been very many spiritual people present in the world, regardless of the thing. And something that's been coming up a lot lately, and it's came up first in my mantra class, is that there's a quote. It's by Saint Therese of the Little Flower, and one of her things, she had very many things happen with her in her life. She was a very young woman when she passed. And one of her most famous things, with all the things going on with her, is everything is a grace. So no matter the circumstances, no matter what we might be going through, maybe challenges or things, it's like everything is a grace, everything is a blessing. And I just really, that phrase really resonated a lot with me of late. And it's funny that the word grace has come up again today. So there is no coincidences, as they say. So I just love that. And I really appreciate the wonderful energy that all of you are bringing to this space. Because I know Jan feels this way as well, that we are blessed to be here and be able to share these conversations, because it's an opportunity for all of us to grow and expand and be in community with each other, and realize that we're not alone in this beautiful place that we call Earth. And we're blessed to have met you all, even if it's virtually.
Absolutely. Matthew, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I have to drop off there, go shopping for me mummy. Um, I'm only 57, like, but there's one thing that my mom does. Well, what she does not, she doesn't punctuate texts. I don't know if that's her kind of just age or whatever, but I think it's funny because sometimes I kind of say we pull up the keyboard and that's where the comma and the full stop is, and she just keeps on saying I couldn't be bothered.
I love that.
Yeah, very funny. Yeah, my mother sends interesting texts too, and I think it is an age thing. So I think my mother might be kind of older than your mother, Matthew. I'm not sure, but it's always makes me smile when she texts me because it's kind of like, sometimes there are these very, kind of misspelled, or there's no punctuation, and it's like one long run on, but it's absolutely adorable. At
Open to
least,
All right,
interpretation.
yeah, yeah.
indeed. Talk to you later, guys. Take care.
Okay, thanks, Matthew. Have a good
Bye.
weekend. But I love that. Yeah. So, anything else anybody would like to share? I'm kind of like, I'm not done, but it's been so full already that I'm kind of like at a pause to catch my breath to open. But yeah, like Mary Jane said, we are so blessed to be here with you all, and to share in these conversations, because I do think it is so important. I think the way the world is today, to realize that these connections between all of us are really powerful, um, and very much needed in the world.
Divine, you had something to say or add?
Yeah, just a song that came to me. And this song has been coming to me for a while. But as you guys are talking about the words and talking about grace and being blessed and gifted and what we can do and what we get to do, look, what we get to do. I'm hearing that, I think Patti LaBelle sings it. Don't quote me, but I think Patti LaBelle sings it. I got a new attitude. Feeling good from my head to my shoes. I know where I'm going and I know what to do. Ooh, 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 ooh. I got a new attitude. So, that helps, right? That helps. Even music and sound and frequency. You guys know I'm really big on sound healing too, is that it can really shift us in like a blink of an eye, like that quickly. So that is what came to me as we're talking about this because we have shifted and sparked a deeper awareness, and whoever's going to listen to this is also going to feel that deeper awareness and that perspective shift and that attitude shift that happened today, as well as every time we come in here, right? So I appreciate you guys so much every week. I absolutely love being here. And this is like another form of therapy and connection. Gratitude.
Oh, thank you so much, Divine, because the song that came to me with the word grace was Amazing Grace. So that's what came to me. And if you look at the lyrics of the first paragraph, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. And so this whole idea of shifting perspective, of changing to look at things as being blessed, as being, having that kind of reverence or holiness or grace about about the things that we do in our lives and how that might shift us, into a state that is a little bit more positive. And how, when each one of us do that, it always reminds me of one of my friend's favorite words, and that is the word ripple, what impact it has around the people around us, the people we converse with, your beautiful children, Divine, you know, your girls, it's like, and how much that shifts everyone because then they go out and they act differently. And Taryn?
I really loved what you said, Jen, with regards to shifting perspective, because while we were talking, I was thinking that while we change how we say things and have it with gratitude, at the same time, it also changes how we take action on things. So when you do to do and chore, it's like, oof, you like have so much resistance and you do it with not with gratitude and happiness that you can do it. And I also think that way by having, I'm blessed to, I can, and I get to, and seeing it more as a blessing or however you term it for yourself, it also helps us to attract more of what we want. We want more gratitude. We want more of that. Whatever you speak out, you will attract. And I just think that helps you take the right action in the right more of what you want, filled with gratitude, love, abundance, and happiness and positivity.
Thank you, Taryn. So true. Mary Jane?
Yeah, I was just gonna say almost exactly the same thing as you, Jan. So true. Thank you for sharing that, Taryn, and here we are. I love it. Finishing each other's sentences, right, Jan?
Yes,
Ladies,
absolutely.
no, I was just going to say, ladies, I got to drop off. For some reason, I wanted to tell you guys because what Mary Jan had put in the comments, I was thinking about love is the new currency. And when I think about the word currency, I think about the current of the ocean and the sea and the ripple effects that we are here together in this community. So, again, thank you so much. And I have a new attitude today again. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, Divine. And yes, currency, current, and I think of electricity, or you talk about energy. So, you know, currency. And I love that. Love is the new currency. Absolutely.
Mm. Janet, shall we take this opportunity now to sort of rest and into what we've sort of talked about today with your always divine, get it, divine, meditations?
Absolutely. I'm definitely ready. So, yeah. So begin by finding a comfortable seat, You can feel free to lie down if that's more comfortable. Close your eyes gently and take a deep breath in. And exhale slowly. Allow yourself to settle into this moment, letting go of any distractions or to-do lists. This is your time to simply be. Take another deep breath in and exhale when you're ready. Feel your body supported by the surface beneath you. With each breath, release any tension that you might be feeling. Any tension in your shoulders, you can do a little shake of them. Your jaw can release that tension by opening and closing your mouth a few times. Your hands and wrists by shaking them out a little bit, uncurling your fingers, and allow yourself to soften. Now bring your awareness to these words, I have to. And notice this phrase, I have to. What are the things in your life you feel like obligations you feel you have to do? Perhaps it's work, responsibilities, errands, or even self-care becomes a have to. Without judgment, simply bring these to mind. Acknowledge any weight they carry as you sit with these thoughts. And notice how your body feels when you say, I have to. Does it feel heavy, restrictive? Simply observe. Now take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, imagine releasing any resistance, any burden tied to these words. And then shift your attention to the words, I get to. Bring to mind one of those I have to statements and reframe it. Instead of I have to work, say to yourself, I get to contribute. Instead of I have to exercise, say I get to move my body. Instead of I have to care for my family, say I get to show love. Feel the subtle but powerful shift in energy. Notice how this change in language alters your emotions, your sense of possibility. As you repeat these reframes in your mind, allow gratitude to gently arise. Each breath in welcomes appreciation. Each breath out releases resistance. Now expand your awareness from get to I am blessed to. Beyond getting to do something, recognize that you are blessed to do it. You are blessed to wake up each morning with breath in your lungs. You are blessed to experience love, friendship, and connection. You are blessed to grow, to move, to feel. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let gratitude fill your entire being. Repeat silently or aloud, I am blessed to be here in this moment. I am blessed to have opportunities to grow. I am blessed to love and be loved. Feel this truth settling deep within you. Allow it to anchor into your heart. As we gently bring this meditation to a close, take a deep breath in and exhale with a sense of lightness. And when you're ready, begin to move your fingers and toes. Slowly bring your awareness back to the present moment. And gently open your eyes. Carry this shift with you throughout your day. Notice when I have to arises, and see if you can gently guide it toward I get to and even I am blessed to. Please take a moment to connect with us during the week. Mary Jane and I would love to hear from you throughout our weeks. We have a workshop together coming up on Sunday, this Sunday at 2 p.m. We would love to see you there. It would be a blessing to see you there. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom, online. All you need is love. And we will end today's session. And who knows where the next one will go. But whatever it will be a blessing.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here.
Have a good